All right, we're jumping right in. We are now 3 weeks into a conflict that is spiraling out of control faster than almost anyone predicted. And its consequences, well, they're already being felt across the globe. Today, we're going to break down how this war is expanding on multiple fronts and where it all might be heading.
And look, to get a sense of just how serious this is, you only have to look at this quote from the US president. The US is not ready to make a deal. That's a pretty clear signal, right? At the very highest levels, the focus isn't on finding an off-ramp, it's on pushing forward. So that's where we stand today. It's day 16 of a war that is getting more intense and wider in scope with each passing day. And honestly, there's no end in sight.
Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this, let's start at the very core of it all. The direct fight between the US, Israel, and Iran, which has been dubbed Operation Epic Fury.
And this really lays out the dangerous back and forth that's fueling this whole thing. It is a textbook tit-for-tat escalation. On one side, you have the US and Israel launching these massive strikes on what they call regime infrastructure, even demolishing a key Iranian oil hub. Then you get this almost taunting hint of more strikes to come just for fun. And the Iranian response? They are not backing down one bit. They're firing back with missile waves at Tel Aviv and making direct personal threats against Israeli leaders.
But here's the thing, this was never going to stay a simple two-sided fight. The conflict has already spilled over the borders, opening up a second absolutely brutal front in Lebanon. Just think about this number for a second, 850. According to the Lebanese Health Ministry, that's how many people have been killed in Lebanon since this started. That is a staggering human cost in just a little over 2 weeks. And it's not just the fatalities. The UN is reporting that 800,000 people, 800,000 have been displaced. They've been forced to flee their homes inside Lebanon, creating a massive humanitarian crisis.
You know, the situation on the ground is it's absolute chaos. Israeli airstrikes aren't just hitting the south anymore, they're hitting the capital, Beirut. Their stated target is Hezbollah, the powerful group backed by Iran. But tragically, civilians are being caught in the middle. One attack killed 12 health workers. And Hezbollah is hitting back hard, claiming they're using advanced missiles on Israeli bases. The whole country is being dragged deeper and deeper into this.
So you might be asking, is anyone trying to stop this? And the answer is yes, but it's complicated. You've got the French president offering to host talks. The Lebanese government says it's ready to talk. But the door seems to be slammed shut. The Israeli foreign minister came right out and said no plans for talks. And their reasoning is basically this. We're not fighting Lebanon, we're fighting Hezbollah. And in their view, Hezbollah doesn't answer to Beirut, it answers to Tehran.
Okay, let's shift gears. Because beyond the bombs and the missiles, there's another war being fought, an economic one. And the shockwaves from this are spreading out from the Persian Gulf.
And the centerpiece of this economic battlefield? It's the Strait of Hormuz. You have to understand, this isn't just some waterway. It is the critical choke point for a huge chunk of the world's oil. It's like a major artery for the entire global economy. If you can control it, you have incredible leverage. And right now, Iran is using that leverage for all it's worth. They've essentially blockaded the strait, creating a massive traffic jam of oil tankers. The result? Oil prices are shooting up everywhere. And they're not stopping there. They've hit oil tanks in the UAE and even issued these chilling warnings to evacuate major hubs like Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And you can see how this is dragging in other countries in the region, countries that really wanted to stay out of it. The UAE is having to intercept missiles while publicly calling for reason and logic. And then you have Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, who are so worried about the instability and the damage to the global economy that they've had to cancel huge international events like their Formula One races. So we've talked about the geopolitics, the battlefields, the economics, but what is this actually like for the people living inside Iran, at the very center of this storm? Honestly, getting a clear picture of what's happening inside Iran is incredibly tough. The regime has shut down the internet, and people are terrified their phones are being tapped. But every now and then, through these brief, courageous messages, we get these little glimpses of their new reality.
And this quote from a resident in Tehran, it just captures this heartbreaking shift in how people are feeling. He's talking about a friend who, right when the conflict started, fled the city, hoping maybe, just maybe, this chaos would somehow lead to the end of the regime. But now, he says, that hope is just gone.
So what's left when that hope disappears? Well, it's fear. a very specific kind of fear. People are terrified of prices for basic things like food and medicine skyrocketing. And there's this deep anxiety that the US will just declare some kind of limited victory and leave, abandoning them to the same regime in a country that's now been completely shattered. But even with all that fear and despair, you hear other voices too. This one, for example. Another resident acknowledges how incredibly difficult things are, but ends his message with that simple, defiant phrase, "Long live Iran." It's a sign of this stubborn national pride, maybe even a cautious glimmer of hope that a better future is somehow still possible.
All right, so let's pull the camera back for a moment. When you look at all these pieces together, the military fronts, the economic war, the human toll, what you see is a conflict that's casting this massive, growing shadow across the entire Middle East.
And this, right here, is probably the most important thing to grasp. It's this ripple effect. What started as a core conflict between the US, Israel, and Iran didn't stay contained. It immediately sparked a second front in Lebanon. It ignited an economic war that's choking the Strait of Hormuz and pulling in the Gulf states. And now it's having a real, tangible impact on all of us through rising oil prices and a sense of global instability. Look, the hard truth is we're in week 3, and nothing, absolutely nothing, suggests this is slowing down. If anything, all signs are pointing toward this becoming a much longer, more drawn-out conflict. And that leaves us with one final, really unsettling question. With diplomatic options seemingly off the table and all sides digging in for a longer fight, do we have to start asking if a much wider, more devastating regional war is no longer just a possibility, but an inevitability?